made this song my ringtone, says Metal Theologian. That's funny. You know, I haven't even done that. Hey, Myron, can you do that? You're useless anyhow. Yeah. Say Goodnight theme song, the worship music. Put it as my ringtone on my phone, okay? Oh, and pick up my laundry. You forgot last time. You either pick up my laundry or I'm going to tell Satan. Okay, that's better. Sometimes you got to keep these employees in line. Like they kind of, you know, you be nice to them and then they kind of slough off. I'm going, this is going to be my favorite live stream of the year. I am a prophet. I am a prophet. And I know it. This will be the best live stream of the year. So if you're here listening, you're welcome. Such a huge dopamine hit from this. Thank you, Muslims, for doing this for me. For bringing my life hope, meaning, and purpose. I love you. I love you for it. Is that insincere? Doug, you're PineCreek, you're being insincere right now. Okay. I got a question for Muslims and atheists. Muslims, I have a question for Muslims and atheists both about that Hamza Den, the arena thing I entered the other day. Oh, Pine Points. Jake the Snake, you were here first. 1,000 Pine Points to you. Scott Duke, my favorite name. 500 Pine Points to you. And the Tomaz, 250 Pine Points to you. Erica Lewis, you were fourth. Close. But you're not good enough, Erica. Lavington, where's your sparkling ice? Ha ha ha. I'm going to laugh my buttocks off if sparkling ice, if there's an atheist who works as an executive at Sparkling Ice, I'm an atheist too. You know, we got to stick together. We got to keep the tribe strong, right? But we don't tell anybody. Shh. Don't tell anybody an atheist is an executive at Sparkling Ice. I don't know if this is true, but if it were, don't tell anyone. It's a little secret. But you're going to like me, and I'm going to promote your product. And, sabbatical. Sparkling Ice and PineCreek in cahoots, making the world a better place by... Oh, that was a taste bud orgasm right there. Taste bud. Hey, you can use that as a slogan, Sparkling Ice. You want a taste bud orgasm? Drink Sparkling Ice. Oh, I had a thought, but I'm not going to say that thought. So here's my question to Muslims and atheists both. Who watched my appearance on the arena? Why did it go so well? Why did it go so well? Because I think atheists and Christians, Muslims, both, and maybe even some Christians, all agreed that was a wonderful conversation. Am I wrong? Is there any Muslim or atheist, if you're just focusing on that conversation, what happened in the den, the arena, forget about all that stuff that happened afterward, but just that conversation, why did it go so well? Okay, now some people are going to say I'm conceited and arrogant and boastful, but I don't care. It went well because of me. Truth hurts. It went well because of what I chose and chose not to do. There was a lot of claims made in that live stream that I just let go. I think Hamza, even early on, when I asked the question about would he rather have me an atheist or a Christian, and he said, "Oh, you're all the same. You both." See if I even tried, and I don't want to play the clip. If I've even tried to say what he said, that's not what he said. Okay, but the point is, I focused on the things that were important. I asked some interesting questions, which I think they agreed with. I had so many comments from Muslims who just, their heart was a pitter-patter. I mean, like, this atheist guy he's intelligent and reasonable. I remember reading one Muslim say, this is the first time I've ever heard an atheist who sounded intelligent and reasonable. it went so well because I employed a technique. I didn't chase after every claim and say, no, you're wrong, and here's why I think you're wrong. I chose as a strategy to be very, very civil and nice as a strategy. Now, that's insincere, Doug, to choose that as a strategy. It only counts if you're actually really, really nice. But I was actually really, really nice and civil. That's me. When I choose to do something, I can do it, except for fly. That's my great ancestor. He chose to fly over the Grand Canyon unaided, but I can't choose to do that. You know what I mean. There are so many conversations in the arena that go horribly wrong. I'm sure some of them have gone very well as well, although I haven't seen too many. And a lot of the characters in the den are the same. So what's the difference? It's the person there visiting. So before I went on the den, which was probably a last minute idea, because all my I'm a spontaneous type of guy. I'm like an artiste, you know. I have this idea, and no. I'm a finance science type geek who, yeah, has no soul. But I did choose to go in there last minute, and I chose to be as nice as I could be. Now, I have chosen an occasion to be rude and a schmuck. People who have seen my channel know that I have the ability to choose to be a schmuck to people. And people who have seen my channel know that I can choose to be nice to people. I don't let my emotions sway me. I mean, I'm going to make a choice in this moment to act this way. But it's still me. It's still me being sincerely nice and still me being sincerely a schmuck. Now, in this live stream, I'm going to judge people. And I'm okay with judging people. I'm going to offend people. And I'm okay with offending people. I might even make some people cry. I'm okay with making people cry. Unless they're children. I have a soft spot for children because, as Whitney Houston said, was it Whitney Houston or was it Michael Jackson? They're our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty we have inside. You can tell I'm having too much fun here. So last night, there was a live stream. Oh man, what's the name of their channel? I apologize. I sincerely do. Sincerely do. I'll get it in the description later. My apologies. And so they were basically saying, oh, here's this PineCreek guy. He comes in and he has this wonderful conversation with us. And it was a great engagement and asked some great questions. And we had a wonderful conversation. And it turns out it's all just a lie. He's really this atheist who had this strategy. Now, let's grant this for a second. What's the worst possible motive I could have had? I'm talking to the Muslims right now. In your thoughts, what's the worst possible thing you could think about me in terms of my motive for coming on and being nice? I'm just spitballing here, but maybe to show I was going to say show the world that I'm nice, but how is that bad? Maybe to well, here's an idea. Here's a worse possible motive, that by being nice, I manipulated the conversation in such a way that Muslims would be attracted to me and be more open to my ideas and thoughts, and therefore more willing to actually, maybe not immediately, but years down the road, doubt what they believe and lead them away from Islam. Now, what could be worse than that from a Muslim perspective? Right? That motive of leading Muslims away from the truth of Islam, I can't think, from your perspective, I can't think of a worse motive. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to grant you that. The worst possible motive, I'm going to concede. My goal was to be sneaky by being very, very nice, to lead you away from the truth of Islam and ultimately to hell, because that's the consequence of, I think, maybe not, I don't know. Some Muslims might say, no, I don't believe in that. Well, that's fine. But here's the thing. Even if that were my motive, does that take away anything from the conversation, the wonderful and beautiful conversation we had? The exchange of ideas in a cordial way? Let me take this a step further. I don't believe this, but let's say I did. Let's say all these three gentlemen you're looking at right now, that I truly believe they're irrational, immoral. Let's say I believe they were stupid, emotional wrecks. Let's say in my thoughts, I truly believe that about these people. So what? Does that take away from the conversation we had? The wonderful exchange of ideas? Are you basically going to accuse me of thought crime? If I'm starving to death and someone thinks the worst of me, but yet brings me a loaf of bread, you know what? I don't care if they think the worst of me. They help me. Who cares what people think about you in their thoughts? I know a lot of, by the way, if it's any reassurance to Muslims listening right now, a lot of atheists disagree with me on this point. No, Doug, you should try to have good thoughts about people all the time. I mean, it makes people feel bad if they find out you think badly of them. My point is this. What counts more is actions, not thoughts. Now, Doug, thoughts lead to actions. I get that. But, a lot of people have really bad thoughts of cheating on their wives, but never do. People have bad thoughts of even killing their neighbor, but never do. So thoughts, don't give me this thoughts always leads to actions. No. So anyhow, I think what really bothered these Muslim gentlemen is the fact that we did a review video afterwards. And my friend Nathan basically did a review. He beat me to it. I was planning to. And then I had Nathan on and we talked. And I was very open and honest that this was my strategy. I was going into their house and I'd be nice and as cordial as I could be. And I was very open and honest on what things I pressed them on and what things I didn't. What things I just let go and what things I pursued. Now, I think a lot of their problems with that review is not so much the things I said, but what Nathan said. And also what some of you flag-waving phonies, atheists in the chat, said about some of these Muslims. I think they were offended. But as we see later, I'm going to judge, especially one person of the three here, for that. And I also want to say this. That Nathan person that psychologized some of you here, and I'll say, okay, I psychologize too. He used to be like you guys. He did. Honest. Nathan used to be, what I say, fundamentalist? Yeah, fundamentalist Christian. Dare I say in the cultish version of Christianity. This is Nathan back in September 27, 2019. I had a conversation with Nathan, the guy who psychologized you Muslims. Back September 27, 2019, and thank you, Nathan, for letting me know about this. And this is what Nathan had to say about me after I had conversation, which I thought was a wonderful conversation, but maybe he didn't at the time, what he thought about me.
Sharpest of moods, shall we say. And then I saw this video that was suggested by this PineCreek guy. I'd never really seen any of his stuff before, so I went into the chat, and there's loads of the typical atheist comments, Jesus never existed, so I started responding to a few of these things in the comments, and then was encouraged to go on, and so I did, and was charitable I suppose in the sense that I was expecting a discussion, but I didn't realise that what this guy does is something called street epistemology, which is basically a very particular method and view of things as well. So what the method is it's basically designed to induce epistemic doubt in your interlocutor, the person that you're talking to, through a specific line of questioning. And if you watch a few of the kinds of videos that this person does, you realize it's basically a word game. There are several questions and hypotheticals, what might be called perspectival thought experiments, and there's been some research done into actually the validity of anything that might come from perspectival thought experiments as well. And I would argue that it's potentially unethical, possibly not good in seeking the truth. But to be charitable from a philosophical perspective, it is good to have doubt and question beliefs, but I didn't know that I was about to engage in this game. When I came in.
Okay, this is Nathan. A couple years ago, I guess it's 3 years ago already. Comes on my show as a Christian, and basically says, this PineCreek guy is playing a game with me. He asked me these hypothetical questions. He tried to raise this doubt in me using these tricky questions. He doesn't say it here, but I think he would also even admit that I was nice to him. Fast forward a year later after this, he's no longer a Christian. Muslims, question for you. Do you believe Christianity is true? Yeah, I'm hearing it. I got 1,000 Muslims in my right ear here. No, they say Christianity is not true. I led this guy, using this technique, away from a falsity. Now, he became agnostic/atheist, I think. I don't know what he calls himself. It doesn't matter. But I led him away from something that's false, using a specific strategy of asking these tricky hypothetical questions, using outsider tests for faith, being nice. Here's my question for Muslims. Is what I did, lead him away for something that's false, is that noble, what I did? Or is it unethical? I mean, by asking these questions, by being nice, is that unethical? By having hypothetical scenarios, is that unethical? Maybe. Maybe some of you out there are saying yes. Maybe some of you are out there saying, well, the end doesn't justify the means. Yes, Doug, Christianity is false, and you help lead him out of that. Okay, I will give you that. But why weren't you just up front with him and said, hey, you stupid Christian, there were no eyewitness accounts. Hey, you stupid Christian, we don't even know about the martyrdom. Hey, you stupid Christian, look at all the inconsistencies. Why? That's what you should have done. Maybe, I'm exaggerating with the word stupid, but let me give you a little piece of advice. That doesn't work. Doesn't work. Okay, so let's get into it. It was a 2-hour video. I'm not going to go into everything that they said. I'm going to go into two main areas of what they said. Number one, I'm going to purposely, without apology, psychologize them, especially one person. By the way, psychology, hang on. I think Muslims value science, do they not? Isn't psychology a science? when I psychologize, aren't I using science? Well, Doug, you're not a professional psychologist. Oh, that's true. Okay. But I play one on YouTube. Now, psychology is a science, barely. Let's be real here. It's not a real science compared to chemistry or physics or math. Well, math is the undergird of all sciences, but it's still a science, for goodness sake. So as good Muslims who value truth and science, the scientific method to arrive at truth, you got to say psychology is part of that. Do I dare bring up names like Dr. Jonathan Haidt, who has contributed greatly to these ideas of why people believe and values impact belief formation and revision, and the rider and the elephant? Now, I haven't read any of this stuff. I'm just a guy on YouTube, but I have smart friends who have, and they've told me these things. Dr. Jonathan Haidt says this stuff, and it sounds reasonable to me. So that's the number one goal of playing this, to psychologize without apology. And Christians and Muslims psychologize all the time. Just they do it too. The hypocrisy is thick. And the second thing I want to point out, and this is for the Christians listening, I want you to listen to some of the things these Muslim gentlemen say and see if it sounds familiar to you. Thank you for all the donations that I've missed. I want to stay focused here and get through this.
And everyone was just, amazed by him. And, I found it quite entertaining. So I thought perhaps we could discuss it, because I feel that it's important to reveal these intentions and to reveal his method and some of the...
Why is it important to reveal intentions if the result is good? It was a great conversation. If my intentions were the worst possible intentions, what does that matter? I'm not saying they were the worst possible intentions, but I'm saying even if it were, what does that matter? So what if I think the worst of a person, but yet am nice to them?
With his inconsistencies in his arguments, to showcase, I think, our brothers and sisters, especially in this room, what to expect from these sort of individuals. And before going on, as I told you earlier.
By the way, to be fair, Muslims, Christians, you can psychologize me all you want. It's not going to bother me. Sometimes you're going to be right, and sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. But the Christians who have come into my live streams, who have chosen to be as civil as possible and as nice as possible, I appreciate. Now, if they think the worst possible thoughts of me, that like I have no basis for morality and I'm going to hell, and someday my knee will bow and my tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, and they think these thoughts of me, and that, oh, so sad, you are a fool. Only a fool says there's no God. I know they think these things of me, and guess what? Doesn't bother me. I'm just asking you to be like me. Don't let it bother you.
Because I thought this whole fraternity-minded new atheist trend was over. I thought like all those guys grew up and got jobs, and families and stuff. But apparently there's still a small cesspool on the internet where these individuals congregate.
People like me, I'm hearing, are in a cesspool, don't have a job. Okay.
So, I just find it fascinating that they haven't all died out yet.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Yeah, subhanAllah. So I am a bit familiar with him. So I've been subscribed to his channel for a little bit. And I always liked him.
See, this is interesting to me. What? Listen to this.
And there's still a part of me that still wants to.
I've always liked him. I got to quote him right, otherwise I get in trouble.
So I am a bit familiar with him. So I've been subscribed to his channel for a little bit.
Thank you.
And I always liked him. And there's still a part of me that still wants to. I'm just a bit annoyed.
He's a bit annoyed. Yusuf, is that your name? Why do you like me? Why did you say you always liked me? Why did you subscribe to my channel? And why are you annoyed now? Let me hypothesize some answers to those questions. You liked me because you saw I was effective in denouncing and bringing up doubt towards Christians. That's my guess. You liked me because you viewed me as intelligent, reasonable, and civil in my conversations, mostly. Am I wrong? I think this is why you liked me. Now, why are you annoyed? Because I applied those strategies and techniques to your cherished, deeply held beliefs. That's why you're annoyed. Maybe. If you've listened to any of my videos, you have seen me do review videos of Christians, psychologizing them, right? Maybe you haven't, I don't know. But what I did to you guys is not unique, not new, not special. But now you're annoyed. Why weren't you annoyed when I did it to Christians? I'm guessing here. I could be wrong about everything I'm saying. But this is my guess.
With sort of his approach to this. And like his engagement, I guess, just sort of when he started interacting on this sort of review video. Like I said, I just want to repeat, it's fine that he doesn't disagree. Like I have friends that I've been friends with for a long time. Like my brother.
Oh yeah, I basically, if you see cuts, it's because I'm purposely taking things out of context to make these guys look as bad as possible. No, I'm just bringing up the purpose of the 2 points I made earlier.
How it ends up coming across like he was sort of treating you all like children.
Yeah,
and
it's patronizing, and it's just ludicrous, you know. Especially like, look, like, and I'm sorry not to toot my own horn, but if I say I have a master's degree in philosophy, you would think that I would have experienced far more intellectually robust arguments than what they were providing on that stream. You know, I've gone through educational experience. You know, I've been on the Daoist scene for over a decade, and you know, this idea that, oh, you're just going to come on here and pwn me and make me feel like I have to doubt I'm doubting my faith after years of being a Muslim and stuff. It's like, I don't know, the arrogance is just, it's.
Yeah, see, I honestly think that he's talking mostly about Nathan right now. But this is a real issue in conversations like this. One that I admit I have trouble empathizing with. I really do struggle trying to empathize with people who feel like they're being treated like a child. I really don't get this, especially from adults. He looks like he's in his 30s. Asadullah. I mean, I can kind of understand it if you're, 18 to 22 years old and you're worried about people treating you like a kid. But really, as an adult your age, who has a master's degree, you still care about people treating you as a kid? You still demand this respect? This is the sense I'm getting from you. By the way, I'll get it. Whenever someone says their educational background, I judge them. Now, I've given my educational background. I think in these, I have close to 800 videos, maybe in 2 or 3 of them. But the people with PhDs and master's degrees that I know don't go around saying, I have a PhD. I have a master's.
It's just like, wow.
Like, but there was an issue as well. So like, there was a moment in the stream where you were talking about, he said, oh, yeah, you study philosophy, don't you? Yeah. Oh, you've studied philosophy. And you said, yeah. And like, I was watching that, and in the stream, I was like, oh, I don't know why. I always assumed, I've not watched loads of his videos, but all 3 of us here have studied philosophy. And I just assumed that he was speaking in a positive way.
Yeah, he's trying to be nice, cordial, trying to throw a compliment out there just for the sake of, rapport.
And, but it turns out that like people who are super familiar with him, like his fan base or his followers, know that wasn't really a compliment.
Okay, now this is mostly Nathan who has said this, and I think I have a comment in Nathan's video in the comment section where I poo-pooed this idea. Now, I'll be honest, I don't like many philosophers, but I don't have anything against philosophy, except for philosophy of religion. I think, oh, sorry, I almost threw up in my mouth there. I do have a problem with philosophy of religion. When I was a kid, I got hurt by a philosopher in religion. It's too painful to talk about. But anyhow, I have a problem with philosophy of religion, and I have a big problem with most philosophers because they do bloviate. I think even Plantinga has a famous line about how philosophers just won't shut up. Many of them, and I resonate. That's one of the reasons why I like Plantinga, because he admitted that. But when I was in the arena and I asked, do you have a philosophy degree or whatever? The conversation was going so well that it wasn't a negative or a positive to me. He was saying words that made me think that he has a philosophy degree. So I just asked to confirm that. But at that moment, I didn't have any negative thoughts because of that. And I didn't have any positive. It was completely neutral. You don't have to believe it.
Yeah, so he doesn't like philosophers. What was the word he used? They're very...
we bloviate. Yes.
Bloviate.
Bloviate. Which is quite ironic. Which is quite ironic considering the fact that their entire video is bloviation.
Yeah, exactly. And
commentary on my psychological state.
Yeah, and I'll also say I'm going to judge philosophers. Most philosophers have very poor communication skills. I would say most scientists do as well, which is sad. But it's true. I tell you, Graham Oppy is a beautiful mind. Is a beautiful mind? Has a beautiful mind. No, he is a beautiful mind because I'm a naturalist, right? Yeah. He is a beautiful mind. Graham Oppy, you have a beautiful mind. But you're not that great of a communicator. Sorry, you're not. Stephen Law, you're better. You're better at communicating, but still not that great. I'm trying to think of philosophers who actually have really good communication skills. Maybe someone in the live stream chat could, because I want to love philosophers. I want to get over my fear, my philosophophobia. Hey, there's a new term, philosophophobia. I want to get over my philosophophobia, but it's just so difficult.
And having watched him, I thought he was a bit of a philosopher. Like,
oh no! Oh, you cut me deep. Oh, he called me a philosopher. I mean, if you want to hurt PineCreek, that's exactly what he found my button and he pressed it. Oh.
But like the brief things I'd seen of him, I thought he was engaging in philosophy.
Sam Harris, yes, Bill Shirk. Sam Harris, whether you agree with him or not, he is a pretty good communicator.
And let me give you a little point.
Yeah, so he thought I was a philosopher by by the things I say. Yeah, that's my insincerity, right? I can pretend to be anybody you want. It's like I can talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah, he's sort of like, apparently there was comments in the comment section of the people who were following, pointing out that, if only he knew what.
See, Nathan, look at the trouble you got me into. The video that it made was entitled PineCreek. Your name was left out, I think. But most of this is against you. My protege is causing trouble. Hey, Myron. Yeah, talk to Satan about this. Yeah, we got to get Nathan off the payroll. Yeah, he's young. He makes mistakes, but we can't have this. Because he hurt these guys' feelings. Feelings matter. Myron says feelings don't matter.
Well, it's like pardon me for being sincere and having integrity and approaching my intellectual opposition, with those standards. Pardon me. I apologize. I should have known better than to trust somebody who claims, who behaves as though they're more civilized and more sophisticated and more moral than the rest of us.
Hear that? This is where my psychologizing comes in.
Who behaves as though they're more civilized and more sophisticated and more moral than the rest of us. So pardon me.
This is what I don't get. Like, someone can be think. Someone can just come out and tell me, Doug, I think I'm more moral than you, more sophisticated than you, more rational than you, all those things. And maybe I'm weird, but that doesn't bother me. But it seems to bother Asadullah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't bother him. But you psychologize him here. You watch his face. You listen to his tone of voice. I think it does bother him.
You know, and then going back to that too, that those intentions, that stream that they did, the review that they did afterwards, is also very much a reflection of the comment section. If you look at both of them, at the end of this stream of Hamza's Den, despite all their claims about how we're all sensitive and stuff like this, you notice that the vast majority of the Muslims who commented complimented him.
Yes. Why? Thank you for the donation, Beowulf. Yeah, I will recover from being a philosopher someday. Why did the Muslims compliment me? Why? Because I chose to be civil. I chose as a strategy to be kind and civil. Because I was reasonable. Yes? Because I think a lot of Muslims viewed me as rational. Yes? Because I didn't push back on every single point. I granted some points. Many times, at least a couple of occasions, I said, yeah, Allah could be an explanation for this. Sure. I said stuff like this. Now, my motives doesn't change any of that. Does it? The worst possible motive I could have doesn't nullify any of that. Doesn't make me any less intelligent. Doesn't make me any less rational. Doesn't make me any less reasonable. Doesn't make me any less civil. But Doug, your sincerity, it makes you less sincere. No, I was being sincere in that live stream. I just chose a strategy. I chose a way of behaving purposely. That doesn't make it insincere.
He's a sincere and intelligent individual. But if you go to his comment section and Digital Gnosis comment section, the vast majority of the comments were degrading us.
Who cares? Who cares if people in the comment section degrade you? Now, I care if they come to your house and do something. I am with you there. But if all we're talking about is someone saying, you're stupid, who cares? As Allah is my witness, go into your live stream chat and look how I was treated yesterday. And I didn't lash back once. I remained civil and composed, and your moderators I remember them several occasions admonishing your fellow Muslims to stop it. There was one Muslim gentleman who said, I wish I had a club. I would beat PineCreek up Neanderthal style or something like that. I forget what the quote was. I think it was deleted by the moderator. And to Yusuf's credit, he banned that person. But I tell you, Muslims, you can heap as much as you want on me. It's not going to bother me. I know that a lot of Muslims and Christians purposely try to hurt me. And they get even more frustrated when I don't get triggered by it. I can get triggered. I'm not going to tell people what triggers me. Well, being called a philosopher is one of them. But I bleed. I'm a human. I have emotions. But people, strangers on the internet, saying bad things about me, Asadullah, if this truly bothers you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're just saying this for I don't know what reason. But if this truly bothers you, may I suggest you stay off the internet, at least as a YouTube person, until maybe you mature enough that you can take it? Is that too harsh, or is that the truth?
And like treating us like we're a bunch of savages and we're just stupid and uneducated and moronic. It's like, so yeah, it's interesting how you all want to
savages, stupid, moronic. He's not talking about me, and I don't think he's even talking about Nathan here. He's talking about you flag-waving phony humanists out there treating these Muslims so poorly. Why does it bother you?
Posture as being these, how you're so much better and you're civilized, and you're suffering from Kipling syndrome. How you want to teach the savages how to be better and more moral and more rational.
Muslims and Christians, feel free to call me a savage. It's not going to bother me, but it bothers him for some reason.
Yet the savages act better than you do.
Yes,
interesting. I never thought about it after that discussion. I thought about making a review video. Oh, let's discuss the mentality of PineCreek and how much of a moron he is. Yes. And, and everyone look at me, clap, golf clap for my sophistication and how much superior I am to him. I never thought about doing that for views or anything like that. I thought he was a sincere person. I really wanted to talk to him in the future. He decides he wants to go around behind my back and act like a child. And by the way,
goes behind his back and acts like a child. My daughter came home one day when she was in junior high school, junior high. And I think she talked about how some kids were talking behind her back. I get that. I get that from junior high kids, elementary school kids. I do not get that from a grown adult. Especially when it wasn't behind your back. It was public. When I make a response video, I assume the people I'm talking about are listening. And I still say what I say. In fact, if you gentlemen are here right now listening, you're welcome to come on right now. Actually, not right now. Maybe after I'm done this.
I'm sorry let me end this quick rant here too. If you're going to be deceptive in building rapport, don't announce it to the world like an idiot.
Well, this is the thing. So
like Darth Sidious. What if he announced he was a Sith Lord in the first episode of Star Wars? There would be no Star Wars. Oh, by the way, yes, I'm acting like Palpatine so I can take over the Senate.
He gets it, yet he doesn't get it. He's saying, if you're going to choose a strategy of being super nice in someone else's live stream, don't announce it to the world. But I did announce it to the world. What does that tell you? It tells you that I don't care letting people know that I chose to be very civil. This gives me a dopamine rush. It's like, I do judge Asadallah here. It's like,
oh, yeah, you know it. Don't take out the lightsaber yet. It's like, come on.
Well, the thing is as well, like when he was talking about it, it's in the...
If you're a Christian listening, please don't go away. I know this doesn't involve you, but you really need to hear what these guys say.
At the beginning, it's like 10-minute 40 into it. He mentions like, yes, I only ripped into the Christian to build rapport. And he's like, and I'll announce.
No, that wasn't the only reason. When I first went in the arena, there was a guy on before me. I didn't plan that guy to be there, and I didn't plan that Christian to give horrible answers. But this Christian just before me, while I was waiting, did give horrible answers. Had very poor communication skills. I sincerely meant what I said. That this Christian did a horrible job, and I could have probably done a better job than that Christian. I was not lying. Now, did I purposely say that to build rapport? Well, yes, but I purposely chose to be civil as well. Why is that bad? To purposely build rapport and let everybody know, I'm being nice because I want to build rapport. I'm being civil because I want to build rapport. Why is this bad? I don't get this. Because that's not who you really are. Yes, it was who I really was. When I chose to do something, that's me choosing to do something. I can choose to be a schmuck as well, but I didn't choose to be a schmuck.
Sit to the world. I don't care. It's like, well, if you really didn't care, why didn't you announce that in the stream when you were with them?
Okay. What do you think would have happened if I would have went on the stream and said, hey, guys, what I'm about to say now is called rapport building. It's the rapport building stage of the conversation. And even though I agree with I disagree with this former Christian, or this Christian who was before me. I think I can honestly do a better job than that Christian. But the reason why I'm telling you this is so you will like me, and so we can build this rapport together. How do you think that would have gone? Actually, that might have gone well, come to think of it. Maybe I should do that next time. Because you guys might laugh at that. And humor is a very powerful strategy. Oh, now I'm back to techniques and strategies. Oh, so insincere. Using humor now is a bad thing. Okay. But I am a naturally humorous guy. Like, I'm the funniest guy I know.
You wait, and because he kept referring to it as like, you don't go into their house and badmouth them in their house. And
you don't badmouth people, but you can still be forthright. You can still say actually what you believe and try to challenge.
Yeah, you can. You can do that, Asadullah. But then you get conversations like the previous caller. There was a review some atheist did that I really appreciated. Oh, I forget your names. They're too short names. Sorry. And they were talking about how I didn't press them on this, and I should have pressed them on this. Like when they said that Muhammad was a great example of being a businessman and a husband or whatever. And like these atheists were just laughing, or not laughing, but saying this is ridiculous. And PineCreek needed to press them on this and this and this. I purposely chose not to, because I knew if I did, then this wonderful conversation that we're all agreed happened would not have happened. Right? Or do you think it would have still happened? You got to choose your battles very carefully. I'm not just talking about atheists interacting with theists, but theists when you interact with me, guys like me. I'm going to say things you're going to disagree with, but then you have to use your brain and think, do I want to pursue this or not? Is it worth it or not? Should I say something to PineCreek about this or not? No, there's bigger fish to fry. Let's just move on. Let's just let PineCreek say what he needs to say and move on. This is what I do with you guys. And it leads to productive conversations. Maybe try it when you're talking to atheists.
I'm more insulted by the fact I'm not insulted if you challenge my beliefs. We're not insulted. If you went under to bash Islam like all these other guys do, I would have sat there, taken it like everyone else, right? We've all would have taken it and responded in kind. Of course, unless he was just trolling and wouldn't shut up, right?
You would have taken it like everybody else? It seems like you can't take comments from strangers in the comment section. You don't do very well with those. There's no evidence that would lead me to believe you would have taken it if it was a face-to-face. You would. Humans get defensive. Except, well, yeah, I do. I was going to say except for me. No, I get defensive as well.
Some people do. But what I'm really offended by is the duplicitous behavior and then going behind the back and then to psychoanalyze and make fun of us. Like,
yeah, and this kind of links now onto as well.
By the way, at this point, I screen captured the comment section, and wherever you see orange is people talking about me, and you'll see a lot of orange. People ask me questions and saying bad stuff. But let me rewind this. This is another thing I don't get.
Psychoanalyze and make fun of us. Like,
yeah, and
like strangers making fun of you, that bothers you. I judge you.
This kind of links now onto as well what Nathan was saying. So he says that basically, that we just kick everyone. Hamza's then just kicks it. Like, if anyone is...
Okay, now I'm going to psychologize Nathan here a little bit. Nathan has a history with these guys, and most of this, I think, live stream is about not so much me and them and the interaction, whether I'm insincere, duplicitous. I think most of this is about Nathan, because Nathan was kicked. And I think Nathan is hurt. Are you hurt, Nathan? No, I don't know. But there's definitely more of a history between Nathan and Hamza Darina than me, because that was my first time, and Nathan has been there.
Familiar with Hamza's Den, you'll see that it's really rare that people get kicked. It's very rare. And like he even he points out that when he came on, the first thing he says was that he was under the influence.
I'll read some of the comments later, so don't try to read it.
Of Satan or something. Now, what you've got to appreciate is Hamza's Den is quite a popular stream. It has a lot of people tuning in
He's
Like,
in the
well-
comments here. I don't know if you guys are seeing
Well, you
that.
can stay. No, you can stay in the comments, son, because you didn't invite us on when you reviewed my psychology.
So
The rest of us, so you can stay in the comments.
Okay, like listen to that. There's no insincerity there. He is sincerely ticked at me. He's talking to me. I entered the live stream at this point. I was there earlier, but I started typing at this point, so they knew I was there. And he said, "You can stay in the comments, son." The fact that he said "son" tells you that he's responding in kind. He feels like he was treated like a child, so now he's trying to treat me like a child. But the difference between him and me is this doesn't bother me. But yet it seems to bother him. But it just shows me that how these things do impact people. And it can be a complete stranger. I don't understand why people give power to strangers. Asadullah, why are you giving power to complete strangers to manipulate your emotions? Let complete strangers think you are a foolish kid. I hope someday you'll be okay with that.
Okay, you've already lost your rapport. All right, so you say that.
know. So with regards to Nathan points out, he's like, oh, you know.
And I want to make another comment. Watch Yusuf's face.
You already lost your rapport. All right, so you say that.
So
see, I can tell, and I'm not going to psychologize and judge, and I can be totally wrong. But Yusuf is more emotionally, psychologically stable than Asadullah. He can let things like this just wash off him, but Asadullah can't as much.
Oh.
So with regards to Nathan points out,
I warned people before they came on, like at the very beginning, that I would be very judgmental and psychologizing here, and I could be wrong about everything, but I'm just giving you my honest opinion. What's going on here?
He's like, oh, you know, when he first came on the stream, the first thing he says was, you know, I'm under the influence of Satan or something. Now, Hamza's Den is a popular stream. He's got a lot of people coming in, and there has to be a filter. That is, you've got to try to identify.
Abdu XP says, I've never seen this Dawa guy, so this triggered. Well, I think he's triggered because I think he respected me before.
Identify who are trolls and then get rid of them. Like PineCreek, you're watching now, you do this as well.
Yep.
When people come on, if they come across as trolls, you mute them.
Yep.
And you try to get them to say a particular thing. And if it gets out of hand, you kick them. Like you've got your own filtering system.
I have no problem with people being kicked. I think they're mostly talking to Nathan here.
And we're no different from that. We also have a filtering system. And now, simply disagreeing is fine. Like that's the whole point of these streams, is to have a back and forth. And so other than that, I think it's a bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is the whole point of having these discussions. If they get heated, they get heated. That's the point of intellectual discourse. Right. And yet, you know, we're treated as though we're not worthy of that. Yeah. You know, we're just being used as pawns for you to make yourself look
treated as not worthy, being used as pawns. Muslims, you come across as very weak when you talk like this. And I've said this to Christians as well. If what you believe is true, if you have the truth with a capital T on your side, and I'm just a foolish atheist, why in the heck does this bother you so much? Why does it bother you to be used as a pawn? Like, who can actually even use you as a pawn if you don't want to be used as a pawn? This I sincerely don't get, and I've chastised Christians about this too, who get defensive. Guys, you have the truth and you're being defensive? To a guy who can't account for objective morality, for a guy who has no basis or foundation for logic, you're getting defensive? You're complaining about being used as pawns and being treated as children and being condescended about. I can't remember the last time, and I don't think it's ever happened, where I've said to someone, stop your condescending me. Stop condescending me. It's like, you can't do it to me because you're a stranger to me. In order for you to have any impact on my life, you got to have a relationship with me first. Oh, that's so warm and fuzzy sounding coming from a stoic like me.
Better. Especially his friend Digital Gnosis was even far worse in his own stream, which I won't mention specifically, but there were just comments in there, like even in his own comment section, he commented, I think he deleted something because he realized how juvenile they were. He comments on one point where my voice breaks. So
yeah, okay, this is where I disagree with Nathan, but I didn't say it. Maybe I should have. But Nathan made this comment about his voice breaks. I'm not under any illusion that these guys will ever leave Islam or that they're doubting. In fact, I've made bets with other atheists. Some atheists will say, oh, I think so-and-so is going to leave Christianity. And most times I will say, no, I'll take that bet. They're never going to leave. So I am very hesitant to say, oh, this person's doubting and they're going to leave.
Sometimes my voice breaks. It happens. I get tired of cotton mouth. Something happens. It just happens. My voice breaks sometimes. Whatever. Okay. If you want to think I'm young, that's good. I'm old, but I appreciate the compliment. So my voice breaks and he makes a comment like, oh, you can tell that's when he starts doubting.
By the way, and for the record, when Nathan, who they're talking about here, left Christianity, we had this conversation, and Nathan, please don't be offended by this, because I know you take offense easily. But I didn't really give our conversation a second thought. And then you emailed me and you asked me a couple questions, and this was in your doubting stage. You had major doubts. And I remember emailing you back and say, hey, I don't think I said stay a Christian, but I said, why don't you just believe in God and just, put this Christianity thing on the shelf for now and just, I don't know the exact words I said. I wasn't trying to get him to leave theism. Wasn't my goal.
Like, what are you talking about? You're going to psychoanalyze me based on the subtleties of my voice changing? What are you going to do next? You're going to read my fortune with chicken entrails? I mean, it's like they don't know anything about Pierce or Rorty or, James or, Dewey or any of these other people, a part of the tradition that I follow. I got attracted to pragmatism through Quine and then reading Kuhn.
When Asadullah, when you said you were attracted to pragmatism, that made me attracted to you because I like to be very pragmatic.
After that, but apparently, Jordan Peterson, that's the reason that I'm saying these things, is Jordan Peterson, which either indicates, like I said, their ignorance of the tradition.
So yeah, most of this stream wasn't actually against me. It was people in the comment section and Nathan, you dirty dog.
Or B, it indicates that they think we're too uneducated or too stupid to get our opinions or our viewpoints from anything other than some YouTube sensation, pop psychologist. Come on. They want to sit here and have a sincere discussion, but the only thing they can do is make these universal declarations of what every theist thinks at the same time. And
universal declarations, what every theist thinks. I think you guys can see that happens on both sides, right? You atheists, you believe something came from nothing. You've heard that before, right? When in actual fact is most atheists don't believe something came from nothing. You atheists don't believe in objective morality, right? You've heard theists say things like that in a broad general statement. When in actual fact, there are some atheists who believe in objective morality. It happens going both ways. The key is not to let it bother you. You can live a happier life if you don't let it bother you.
And they think that everything that we say has only a reference to some, a guy who became popular in the last couple of years. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to rant so much, but I'm more offended by this perception that we are inferior.
He's offended by the perception that you're inferior. Why? Why does that offend you? I think This is going to be very controversial, and I'm not just speaking to Asadullah here. But if someone's offended about being made or being perceived as inferior, that speaks more volume. That speaks more to you than the person who's making you feel that way. The truth hurts.
Anything that he even said on that pod, like he said, "Oh, I don't want to offend you, but God is like the silverback." He's like, that didn't offend me. It didn't offend me at all. I'm just listening to your argument. I'm trying to focus and trying to understand what you're saying. What offended me is what you did after that.
Yeah, it's
like,
the way we're being framed mostly. Like I'm fine because we're going to get into this. We're going to go through the arguments that have been put forward. But Jake, I just want to ask you as well. So this, I was very civil in,
and I'm not going to get into these arguments. You guys can watch it. I'm more concerned about the 2 points. I'm psychologizing them on purpose, and I hope they're watching, and I hope they can learn to be psychologized and be okay with it. Learn to deal with it and handle it. I'm hoping that these guys, and I think it's just Asadullah, I think the other guys are actually pretty stable emotionally. There I'm judging, but so what? You will be a better person, a happier person, if you can allow people to think the absolute worst of you and be okay with it.
my request to you as well, but you ignored that, and then you were responding to comments in that were responding to my invite to you from that account. So like if you want to have a discussion, maybe we can arrange it on that channel, and we
Yeah, after the arena, I got swamped with requests, not just from Muslims who watched it, but even Christians. And I, Yusuf, I didn't know who you were, but now that I've seen you talk, I didn't even click links to see, okay, is this guy worth talking to? But now seeing you talk, I think we could have a very civil, sincere conversation. One-on-one.
to having a little back and forth there.
I mean, if that's what you do, you can
Say
do
again?
it. But if that's what you want to do, I disagree with that. I disagree with it, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, go ahead.
That makes me mad more than anything, and that's lacking integrity, whether it's between a Muslim or a non-Muslim. Okay, and the fact of the matter is that when I've been played the first time, after that, the only thing that you're useful for is being used as an example.
Yeah, there's some real emotion there. Once he is mad, he is upset that he feels he's been played. I don't get this from grown adults. I mean, play me all you want. Treat me as a pawn. I mean, as long as you don't hurt me physically, I'll be okay. I don't get it. Maybe I'm weird.
Not for having discussions with. That's my position, as far as I'm concerned. Because at this point, that respect is gone. I don't forgive people for that very easily. And
yeah, this is the need to feel respected. And I think I'm going to be a little chauvinistic here, but I think it's more prominent in men than women. I think women need to feel loved and men need to feel respected in general. And I think that need for respect, it starts in the early 20s and starts to fade in your, I don't know, mid 40s. Once you have an established career, you've established yourself, you have a family. It's like you don't need, with a capital N-E-E-D, you don't need people to respect you as much as you did when you were younger. But Asadullah feels really disrespected here, I think.
And that's about me, is like, I approach everything sincerely. And if I'm willing to give you the time to have a discussion and you waste my time and then
okay, waste your time. Everyone here has agreed that that conversation we had was wonderful. The first conversation in the arena. My motives, my actions after the fact, my devious intent, I don't think I have devious intent, but even if I did, doesn't change that fact. How was that conversation a waste of time? when Muslims, Christians, and atheists all alike say it was, I don't know if it was one of the most productive conversations the arena's ever had. Who cares if in my thoughts, I was thinking the worst possible thoughts about you the whole time? Which is not true, by the way. But if it were true, who cares? It was still a wonderful, productive conversation. How could that be a waste of time?
Go behind my back and waste it even more by making me come onto a podcast to defend my own integrity, then guess what? You're no longer worthy of my
But I think maybe he's talking more to Nathan than me here too. I don't know.
attention after that fact. That's my position. That's how that's what
Yeah, no, I can understand.
Well, the other thing is not only that, I mean, based on what I've seen so far, maybe when we play the clip, it'll become more apparent, but it doesn't seem like this was a one-time thing for the guy. It seems like that's sort of a pattern that he embraces.
Yeah, the strategy of being very civil and nice is a pattern I embrace
as part of how he engages with people. So I would agree with it'll become more apparent, but it doesn't seem like this was a one-time thing for the guy. It seems like that's sort of a pattern that he embraces as part of how he engages.
If it's insincere, how can that be a pattern? I mean, I've been doing this for close to 10 years now, if you include other platforms I've been on.
With people. So I would agree with you there. I mean, I think he's being pretty open and honest after the fact that this is the way he is. He tries to sort of just
open and honest that this is the way I am. How can that be insincere if this is the way I am?
Be dishonest with people in conversations. So,
and how am I being dishonest? If everything that was said in the arena of asked me, I answered honestly and sincerely. Everything I asked of them, I asked honestly and sincerely. I really did want to know, poof or drown, and we'll talk about that. That was the most interesting question and lack of answers, and we'll get to that.
I'm kind of with you there. I don't really see much need in bringing him on because I don't know how civil I would remain with the guy, to be quite frank.
Yeah, and this is a problem with you, Jake the Muslim. If you doubt that you can be civil with a guy like me, that speaks more about you, yes? I can say with a pretty high level of confidence that if you and I were to talk, Jake, I could remain civil with you no matter what you would say to me. But it sounds like you can't do the same. Now I'm going to judge you now. Who's better? Who's better at having conversations, you or me, if you doubt that you can remain civil and patient?
Well, the thing is when he's talking to you, he can be very civil in the discussion. It should.
David Rutland asked, you told them from the start you were under the influence of Satan, so what did they expect? Did I say that in the arena? That was under the influence of Satan? I don't think I did I?
Just when, in the aftermath, in his thoughts video. So he's asking now, what exactly did I do to offend you? I said, pretty sure we went through points of that. I'm not too sure when he jumped in.
We've explained ourselves thoroughly. You can rewind.
Yeah, I don't feel like repeating it all again.
You're obviously too lazy to read.
I'm going to try to steelman them here, try to give their perspective. I think they feel upset because I admitted that I employed civility as a technique. I think that's one reason why they're upset. So they view that as insincere to choose to be civil. I think they're upset because I admitted that by saying that Christian did a horrible job defending Christianity, which I believe is true. I'm not lying. I think that Christian Murray was his name, did a horrible job. But me admitting that I purposely said that to build rapport makes me insincere. So I'm steelmanning them. Now the rest of it, I think it's mostly comments that were made on people on my live stream and video and Nathan. Trying to remember. Someone help me. What else? Why would they be upset at me? that I just made a response video admitting that I used civility as a strategy, which I do not apologize for. Stop being nice on purpose. No, you should be nice naturally. Don't choose to be nice. Just be nice. This is the impression I get.
Reach out to us before psychoanalyzing us, so maybe that's also too difficult for you to rewind the video. But anyways, the point what I really want to get to after this is really the inconsistency in some of the viewpoints that were mentioned that I feel need to be brought out.
By the way, I don't think I've ever had over 500 viewers. We're getting close.
He was admitting in his review video that he wasn't transparent on Hamza's Den.
Yeah,
and
no, but I'm saying in the comments he's trying to misconstrue my words of what I just said.
If what you mean by is I admitted I wasn't transparent, I admitted that there's certain things I purposely said and certain things I purposely did not say. Things I purposely asked and purposely did not ask. Is every thought in your head when you're talking to someone, I'm talking to these Muslim gentlemen, you have a thought when you're talking to an atheist. Do you express every thought you have? Or do you hold back some thoughts? Do you press other thoughts? If you hold back some thoughts and purposely don't ask or say certain things, well, you're not being transparent, are you? If you purposely think to yourself, well, maybe I shouldn't ask this or say this at this point. Maybe it'll come around later. Maybe let's stay focused on something else. Well, you're just being insincere, right? That's all I was doing. That's what I was admitting to, that I was being strategic in being nice, building rapport, and not pressing on certain issues, rather choosing to press on other issues, which I think are more important. Now, I could be wrong on that. I don't see how any of that is a sign of insincerity.
Somehow I'm applauding him for his honesty. No, I'm saying you were honest after the fact in admitting that you're never really honest in these conversations. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Like let me just make it very simple for him to understand. What does an adult do in a real sincere discussion? Do they hold back and then be?
Yes, adults do hold back. It's called having communication skills. Now, not everybody is like Larry David. Now, Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm, he doesn't hold back. And I actually like Larry David, his character on Curb. My proclivity is not to hold back, but sometimes I choose to. Sometimes I put the filter on. Adults use filters, Asudala.
In duplicitous manner, and then go behind the scenes in for their own audience, and then start
go behind the scenes where everyone can see.
Psychoanalyzing the person they just had a discussion with, start talking about them behind their back, start saying, and mocking and all this other stuff,
and mocking. I'm on record of saying it, and I'll say it again. I'll triple down, I'll quadruple down, quintuple down on this. Whenever a theist, a Muslim like Asadallah, or a Christian complains about people mocking their God or mocking their beliefs, I judge them as being emotionally insecure. Now, the Christian God can't be mocked, so I don't understand why Christians feel so upset about this mocking business. Try to get yourself to the point in life where a person can mock you and you be okay with it. Then you have reached emotional maturity, in my opinion. These are just all my opinions, but I will judge you without apology. A grown man being worried about being mocked is... I had a thought in my head, but I'm going to use my filter. I'm going to be an adult right now and use my filter.
Just basically trying to egg on the audience, for their own entertainment. I'm sorry. Is an adult do that? Does a sincere individual do that? If the answer is no,
yeah. Chen says in the live stream chat they should speak to Mike Winger and mock each other nonstop. Yeah, this Christians. If you can't hear Mike Winger's complaining about mocking because you're a Christian, you're on his tribe. You can hear it here, right?
Then you understand why we're upset. So that's all that really needs to be said in that respect.
Yeah,
and the fact that you're upset is an emotion that you have that you can actually train yourself to not have. Now, I know it's very difficult, but you can actually, through, do I say this? You can learn to become numb to it. You really can. It took me many years. But you can learn to have people say the worst things about you and about things you cherish, and you can become numb to it, that it doesn't bother you anymore. Now, some people, I think, like to be bothered. I like to be mad, says some people. I want to be outraged. Okay, so if you want to be outraged, if you want to be offended all the time, go for it. But I think life is better if you can just say, okay, you're saying these things about me, these negative things. You think the worst of me, fine, okay.
If you can't really see why we're annoyed, because, like, for example, if you could look back now and watch this and maybe understand our being annoyed at that, because, like, I was excited, like, I was reaching out to him, I was like, I want to have some nice conversations with this guy.
Why were you excited to have conversations with me? Why? Because I know how to communicate, because I am reasonable, because I am intelligent. I'm guessing this is why you were excited. Because I do ask good questions. My intent, my sincerity doesn't change any of those things. Does it? And if it does change anything, it's just an emotion in you that makes you feel icky. Stop feeling icky.
And then watching it just flips upside down. And, like, wanting to have nice conversations, like, he was bringing up things that were interesting to talk about, like the problem of evil. These are interesting conversations. Why did God not, the poof argument? And we'll get into these arguments.
Yeah.
But they're interesting. They're interesting to talk about.
So let's get into the arguments. One more comment, though. He said, "Oh yeah, no, I didn't do it behind your back. I did it publicly." Okay, so yeah, so all right, so that makes it better.
Is public better than behind your back?
Sit there, you could have, if you really want to know what my thought process was, you could have just asked me. I would have told you.
Yeah, I agree. It goes both ways, and I think I did do that during the arena live stream.
Yeah.
That's very simple.
Or we could have mentioned these things on the live stream while he was there talking to you. It's the fact that he was waiting.
Instead of trying to bait us into a conversation that
bait you into a conversation
you didn't have any sincerity with to begin with. I mean, what was the point of that? You wasted everyone else's time so you could us later on.
See, in his opinion, the fact that my intent was devious nullifies that whole great conversation. And I think this is the fundamental disagreement.
On for the sake of promoting yourself to your audience. Oh, look how well I did to these inferior savages. It's like,
look how well I did to these inferior savages. This is his own. This is how he perceives what I think of him, or what other people think of him, I guess. Asadallah, this is on you. This is not on these other people. Why are you viewing yourself as a savage? Because if it's false, if you are not a savage, then someone calling you or implying that you are a savage should have no effect on you. I've said this about the concept of hell, like many atheists, not all, but many atheists, when they're told that they're going to hell, newsflash, this doesn't affect them in a negative way, because they truly don't believe hell exists. The fact that you're bothered by this perception that you're a savage says way more about you than the people who made you feel that way?
It's lovely.
I like them. Should we jump into it?
Thanks, Steve Edenine. Keep up the good work, Doug. Thank you.
So
You're Canadian.
there was the fire insurance bit. Nathan mentioned he got kicked. It said 19 minutes. He said no mention of the Quran.
Well, that's lovely.
I like them. Should we jump into it? So there was the fire insurance bit. Nathan mentioned he got kicked. He said 19 minutes. He said no mention of the Quran. They realized it would have no effect on him. So my response to that bit would be no. Like, you sort of ease your way into it.
So the question, there was a lot of Muslims who thought, why didn't you guys, by the way, a lot of Muslims thought that the people in the arena didn't do a good job with me, and they want to talk to me now. Let me tell you about Islam, because these guys in the arena didn't quite do it. And why didn't you guys in the arenas tell Doug to read the Quran, for goodness sake? Now listen to Yusuf's answer here and tell me, and think about transparency. Think about treating me like an adult.
So my response to that bit would be no. Like, you sort of ease your way into it.
Ease your way into it. Because PineCreek he can't be treated like an adult, right? We got to take baby steps. Ease your way into it. Now, I'm not knocking, hear me. I'm not knocking what Yusuf is saying here. I agree with him. You ease into it. It is a wise thing to do. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy.
You want to sort of start with a foundational base. Like, do you believe in God or not? Why don't you believe in God? You know, these kind of...
And building rapport is a way of starting a foundation and a relationship in the conversation.
Questions. And then when it sort of moves on past that, you can start to sort of enter in a discussion on other things, like, for example, the Quran. And it was relatively a short conversation as well, with many people talking. And then he's like, this is a contradiction.
I like you, Yusuf.
This is,
Yeah, I mean, by the way, let's not mention, I don't think it's worthy to mention him anymore. He's being very pedantic. Like, he keeps bringing it, like, when I brought up the thing about being, how we're savages and inferior, he took it, well, where did I ever say that? I was like, I'm not saying you said that. We're not saying you said those things explicitly. We're portraying how we perceive your perspective about us.
That says it all right there. I could play this 100 times.
We're portraying how we perceive your perspective about us, and we're portraying time. We're not saying you said those things explicitly. We're portraying how we perceive your perspective about us.
Now, he stuttered through that, but he's basically saying, Doug, you didn't call us savages, you didn't call us irrational, you didn't call us inferior, but I perceive that you feel this way about us, and it hurts me. Grow up, Asadallah. It's time for you to be a man. Oh, that was harsh. Did I wake up the kids? Yeah, I'm just having a live stream. It's fine. No. It's fine. Everything's fine. There's no hard feelings. The kids are scared. No, go back to your schoolwork. No, I'm just having fun on YouTube. No, everything's... I'm not getting in trouble. Yeah, okay. See you, sweetie. Love you.
And the way you behave, right? In the same way, I mean, like, he's just trying to find something to complain about. Okay, so let's not bring up those little pedantic things.
There's a word in psychology. I forget what it is. I'm not a psychologist, and I think I got all A's in 8 years of university, but I think I got a B+1, and I think it was in psychology. Yeah, but there's a word starts with P. Projection. He's complaining about complaining. Projection. Yeah, that's the word. Projection.
Unless he has an actual point to make. But right now, I think we're on a roll, so let's continue if you don't mind.
On this notion of, like, why let people suffer, basically, which is the crux of the problem of suffering, the problem of natural evil, or whatever you want to refer to it as, like he constantly asks, he wants Muslims to doubt, but he puts these questions forward, and it never seems like he doubts the
Doubt your doubts. Hey, thank you, Uber Scheiser, for the donation. If that glass was an official PineCreek insulated stainless steel tumbler, Doug, you would still have all your ice. Oh, Uber Scheiser makes tumblers, and he wants me to sell tumblers, which I still might do. Uber Scheiser, thank you for the donation. We got to talk about price, though. I want to make it. I don't want my PineCreek tumblers to be just for the elite. Now, I know most of the people who watch my live stream are among the elite. I get that, but I want these tumblers to be available to the little people, like Asadallah. That's a joke. Come on. It's affordable to all. So we got to get that price point down. That's the finance guy and me talking.
Scenario he's putting forward. So like he'll say, if God asks you, if I can either poof them or I can drown them, which one would you prefer? And the issue with this is, it's like, well, would you not ask a question? It's like, well, what's better? Like, I have limited sight here. I'm not going to choose one or the other because, like, maybe there are things that I'm not going to consider.
Okay, so this is my infamous or famous a poof or drown question, which could be on a tumbler from Uber Scheiser if you guys wanted. The question is, Allah, flood, gives you two options. Allah gives you options. This is a thought experiment, which philosophers, I think, like thought experiments. Poof or drown. Now, some atheists were not mad at me, but are upset with me because I did not push this thought experiment far enough in the arena. And in hindsight, I agree with them. But I used my filter and I chose not to push it. But I could have pushed it. Now, if that makes me insincere, so be it. But I chose not to push it because we were having a great conversation and I didn't want to get the conversation sidetracked on this issue. Hey, thank you for the donation, David Rutland. Paying for my mistake and to help support the most pedantic channel on YouTube. Well, I appreciate that. The most pedantic channel on YouTube. I like that. So this is how I would have pushed it. Allah, I would have changed the thought experiment because they didn't want to answer this. Allah tells you, I'm talking to the Muslims, Allah tells you that he's going to execute his justice on your child. It's a done deal. He's going to kill your child. Allah has already decided this. Allah is sovereign. He's going to kill your child. But you as a parent get to choose the method of the justice. And God, Allah, is giving you the two methods you get to choose from, so both are okay with him because he's giving it to you. 1, poof, 2, drown. And he has his servants filling the bathtub right now. Yusuf, Asadallah, Jake the Muslim. This is a hypothetical thought experiment that is designed to make you feel uncomfortable. But it's a great thought experiment. And being uncomfortable is kind of fun once in a while. What do you say? The bathtub's starting to fill up. Do you say, okay, Allah, I get it. Poof or drown? Your child's going to die in the next 10 minutes, no matter what, because Allah has deemed it so. Poof or drown. It's up to you on the manner of death. Poof or drown. Every parent, every Muslim parent listening right now is going to choose poof. Now, what's the point of this? The point of this thought experiment is to pit your intuitions, your moral intuitions against Allah's. To say, I disagree with the way Allah did things. And for you to be okay with it. The goal of this thought experiment is to help you start to rebel and be okay with it. The point of this thought experiment is to get you to start questioning your God and be okay with it. The point of this thought experiment is for you to face the fear of the Lord, the fear of Allah, face to face, and be okay with it. But you guys are not okay with it. You're not even close to okay with it. You guys are scared of your God. This is my opinion why you won't answer this thought experiment. Because you know in reality, in your reality at least, that Allah did drown, and for you saying poof, he should have poofed, that you would have chosen poof, makes it sound like you're disagreeing with the creator of the universe. And that's so uncomfortable. Bathe in it.
Maybe there are things that I haven't even thought about. And he sort of reduces the fact that these people might suffer as if the effect is only on them. As if there isn't issues of thought that kind of arise with the like other people that are say watching this, for example, or that there might not have been, plenty of things. And not only this, it sort of assumes that the innocent in that situation actually do suffer.
Yeah, in this thought experiment, it assumes drowning doesn't feel good.
But, for someone who's quite skeptical, there's this whole problem of consciousness. Like how?
Yeah, see, instead of actually answering the question, poof or drown, which is a preference question, it's like, do you want beef or pork for supper? It's that question. You only got two choices. You got to eat. It's supper time. Beef or pork. That's the type of question it is. And you see, in order to avoid this question, he goes to, well, how do we know we really feel these sufferings? There's a problem with consciousness. He goes to this philosophical dodge type place in order to avoid this question. And in hindsight, I should have pushed these guys on that question.
How do you know what's going on in the minds of other people, especially minds of people who lived centuries ago? How do you know that if there were anyone innocent among them, that they weren't poofed?
Yeah, he'll even, instead of answering the question, poof or drown, he actually did answer it by saying this in a backdoor way. How maybe Allah did poof some of them. How do we know?
How do you know that didn't happen?
Oh, Brother John says, pork? Really? For Muslims? Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, scratch that. Do you want salmon or beef for supper? Not pork. Oh, my goodness.
How do you know that they didn't?
Oh, and it's Ramadan, too. You can't eat any out. So I'm sorry for bringing up food.
They may not have...
It's Ramadan, a.k.a. intermittent fasting.
Have experienced any pain.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, there's no...
That's something we can speculate about. But, my biggest issue, I think, with that whole entire challenge was like, how are you offering the challenge to begin with? Because...
Yeah, this is Christians, you're going to love this. Asadallah is saying, well, how can you even bring up this challenge to begin with? He's giving the
shut up, fool!
This is the shut up, fool apologetic that Christians use often. Thank you for the donation, Stephen Ortez. As a name of Allah in Islamic belief, Al-Hakim is the one who always delivers justice. Yes, in this thought experiment, it is just. Both options, poof or drown.
Because in the moment that those people are suffering, their suffering means nothing.
Their suffering means nothing, says Asadallah. Your child is going to die at the hands of Allah. Poof or drown, Asadallah? No, let me choose. What if I choose on behalf of your child? Drown. Because the suffering of your child means nothing, right? Yes, this is an appeal to emotion. The emotion I know you have, Asadallah. The suffering of your child to be drowned, well, that's nothing. You don't believe that for 1 second when I apply it to your child. But apply it, 3,000 years ago, it seems like you can easily say this.
To your worldview. I mean, even your sentiment towards that suffering is like a gag reflex. There's no difference. I mean, what are you talking about? Oh, why would Allah do this and things? It's like, well, in your worldview, there is no purpose, there is no meaning, there is no rectification behind it.
Yeah, see, at this point, I would say, well, my worldview is terrible. It doesn't matter. It's false. It's wrong. It can't account for anything. But my question is, poof or drown? Asadala, poof or drown? They can't answer it.
It just happens. They suffer, they die, it's over. It was a tragedy. Nothing's going to happen. And that's why I mentioned at the end, like, I would prefer that there's some rectification to that. Because yes, in the grand scheme of things, if there is a God, if there is rectification, if there is eternity of redemption and rectification, right? Then yes, that suffering to God doesn't mean anything. And to the person,
that suffering to God doesn't mean anything. Man, is Islam that much different than Christianity? I know Christianity very well. And in Christianity, God cares about people suffering. He doesn't want people to suffer. But it sounds, is this guy right? Hey, Muslims, is he representing you?
Then yes, that suffering to God doesn't mean anything. And to the person, suffering from.
Is Allah a cold-hearted God? I don't care about you drowning. Doesn't mean nothing to me. So what if you're in pain for a minute? In a million years, you're not going to remember it. Grab a backbone, you theists out there. Allah doesn't care about your suffering. But I want Allah to care about me.
Those things, it doesn't mean much, right? But under your worldview, that's it. That's their life.
And this is very typical. Christians have done this to me all the time too, Asadallah. Instead of answering this question, which is very uncomfortable, they rather say, well, you can't account for morality. This is not a morality question. I know a lot of people think it is, but it's a preference question. Both options are moral in this scenario, and you get to choose which moral action to choose. Poof or drown.
Come on, lad. There's so many counters.
Even if we say, okay, so like our moral intuitions, let's see what I would do in a situation. Would I drown all these people, or would I find a way to save them? Well, obviously, as a limited human being, I would try to save them to the best of my ability. Now,
so the question wasn't poof or save, it was poof or drown, and he's going with save. So it's obvious that you would go with poof?
For God, he doesn't need to save anyone. He doesn't have to do anything. Not because, he's just almighty, he's just above everything else, but because he has the power to rectify whatever happened to begin with. Like the reason I rush into a burning building to save somebody is because if I don't, that's it for them from my perspective, from my lack of ability. Right? And it's also my duty as a human being, as a moral person, to save anyone, right? But
it's your duty as a human being to save someone? Are you saying you don't need a God to save people? You can save people as a human being, whether you believe in God or not? No, I don't think you would say that. I think the reason why Asadallah would save someone from a burning building is because that's what Allah would want. Am I wrong? Or do you think you could just do it because of what you want? Careful how you answer that.
For God, it's like, you died in a house fire? Oh, okay, well, here's your skin back, and let me, you don't even remember what happened now.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, so Allah can give you your skin back if it's burned off, and you won't even remember it happened in the first place. Let's apply this to your children, Asadallah, if you have children. Is it okay for Allah, as part of his justice, to burn your child alive and then just replace the skin later? He can rectify it, right?
It's the whole notion of the dream, isn't it? Like,
those who have to do anything to begin with. Why does he have to save somebody when he can just act, make it like it never happened to begin?
Yeah, there's no obligation to him. There's no one forcing him to do anything. Admit you are unwilling to answer the thought experiment. We've answered the thought experiment.
Yeah, in a way they did. I think they both said poof without saying poof. This guy said in terms of saving instead of drowning, and this guy said, how did he say? I forget now. But they said a lot of other things in between. But wouldn't it be refreshing? Hey, you young Muslims listening right now who are maybe on the fence, that these guys, they don't want you to listen to me. Yusuf, Asadallah, Jake the Muslim, they do not want you here. But you are here right now. Now, you haven't been typing in the live stream chat. You've just been lurking. But let me ask you a question. Wouldn't it be refreshing if these two Muslims, just to that hypothetical, just said, nothing else, but yeah, of course I'd proof them. I don't want children to drown. Wouldn't you, as a fence-sitting Muslim, young Muslim listening to me right now, wouldn't that be refreshing? Notice that's not what they did. Now, I've had some Christians who've actually answered that way. Said, yeah, Doug, of course I would say poof. I'm not crazy. I have a heart.
Yeah.
We're saying that it's stupid for us to give an answer to it because we lack knowledge.
Yeah, but we've
It's stupid to answer because we lack knowledge. But Allah had the knowledge. He already had this as a done deal. He had knowledge that the execution needed to take place. He had the knowledge that there's going to be two methods of execution of the justice, and the two methods were proof or drown. All the knowledge you needed was there. All you had to choose was your preference, proof or drown.
answered it from our perspective, what we would do as human beings versus what we believe God can and should do with whatever He wants to do. This is also what is it? I forgot the term all of a sudden. Anyways, this thought experiment doesn't actually prove anything about our beliefs, because we believe that we are not under the same authority or power or ability as God. So obviously our decisions and our perspective on the issue is going to be much different from His.
If it doesn't prove anything, so what? Just one word answer: proof or drown.
It's going to be flawed necessarily.
Right.
And
And
that's
the
the
other-
whole point. That's the whole point.
So
I think they do understand that the thought experiment does do something. And this is why they don't just answer with one word, proof or drown. If I was to make this thought experiment like vanilla or chocolate, chocolate. Chevy or Ford, Ford. No problem, because there's nothing at stake here. They understand rightly there's something at stake here. That is why they're hesitant to answer.
Go on, Jake.
No, the other part of it is it's a false dichotomy, because there's only two options given. But I mean, there's many other possible options, right? So I just don't see how we could assess the situation from such a limited perspective. And yet when we give an answer, like, what if I turned around and I just said, well, I think I would just drown them all. Well, if you want to appeal to my moral intuitions and that's my moral intuition, then where does the thought experiment go from there?
Then I would have asked, okay, do you want God, Allah, to drown your child or your loved one, or proof? Now, if you said drown again, then the purpose of the thought experiment is to make you look like a schmuck, and successfully make you look like a schmuck.
You just end it and that's it, pack up and go home.
Yeah.
It doesn't really seem like it's really going to get anywhere, because if I say that, then what are you going to do? You're going to say that I'm an immoral person?
You know what it is?
Based on what?
It's really funny. I mean, it's really funny. You know what it is? It's an appeal to emotion.
Yes,
that's what it is.
It's an appeal to an emotion. And it's hilarious.
It's an appeal to emotion, but not in the form of a deductive syllogism. It's a real life appealing to a human emotion. It makes me feel icky inside to admit that, because I'm such a stoic, but yeah.
Because during the video, they kept ridiculing this notion of appealing to emotion. And
No, this is a big thing. Emotion is part of science. Psychology is part of science. The way we come to belief, the way we change our beliefs, we are emotional animals. I don't deny any of that. I don't poo-poo that. What I do say is that one of these emotions called bias, we have to work hard as human beings, me included, me included, me included. I have to say that 3 times for a theist to hear it once. We as humans, as emotional animals, have to lower our biases, lower these emotions in order to see truth, facts, data, evidence objectively. But I do admit that for most people, myself included, these emotions are powerful.
this argument, the fundamental principle is this idea that people have suffered is going to elicit an emotional response to you. He even mentioned that it was based on moral intuitions, guttural feelings that arise within the person when the thought experiment is offered.
Feelings are science, asked Sandals? I'm going to say no.
To them. And then
I would say psychology is a science. Barely.
Hoping that this is going to motivate a doubt, as he's also made clear as well. It's got nothing to do with whether or not it's rational, because to be able to know whether or not the decision was rational, you need complete knowledge of the situation, which you don't have.
Yeah, what if Allah said, you don't need any other information, it's your preference, I'm okay with either option. Allah tells you, I'm okay if you say poof, and I'm okay if you say drown. I'm giving you these two options. All you have to do is choose. And these guys can't do it.
He just said that, yes, it is an appeal to emotion. But
I know you want
exactly.
I know you don't like a philosophy, but this is called a fallacy.
See, and this is where part of the insecurity comes from. When I say it's an appeal to emotion, for the philosophers types, they automatically think deductive syllogism, appeal to emotion is a fallacy. So therefore, but that's not how I meant it.
Yeah.
So,
and he was also criticizing Hamza and whoever else on the show for appealing to emotion that, we all just believe supposedly because of these.
See, and this is a very human characteristic. It's Christians, whether they admit it or not, they want to say that they believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead for rational reasons. Not all of them say that, but some do. I'd say most do. And Muslims are no different. They want to believe the Quran is the perfect word of Allah for rational reasons. To say that they feel it, they intuit, that's just so dirty. And so this is why they have to bring up, no, we're not emotional. We're Muslims because of the evidence. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, atheist, we're all like this. We want to show people, no, we're rational, we're reasonable. Don't say that the reason why we believe this is because we cried or because of this experience at Bible camp or a Quranic camp. Quranic camp? What do they call Bible camp in Islam? Quran camp. Yeah, Quran camp.
Emotions. Yet you're trying to cast doubts based on an emotional argument. That is completely hypocritical. Yeah, it's a foul.
It's not hypocritical. It's acknowledging the fact that we are emotional creatures and that we do have these. Now, we disagree on the source of it, but we do have these moral intuitions. And your moral intuition is different than Allah's, which I think most Muslims would agree. The purpose of the thought experiment is to put you at odds with Allah, to say you disagree with Allah, to say that you feel icky with what Allah did, and to admit it. And it's so hard for you guys to do that. Thank you for the donation, Hebrew Hammer. The real question asked is, where were you when PineCreek hit over 500 viewers? This Muslim topic has done well for you, Doug. Satan must be pleased. Well, I don't know. I can ask Satan. Are you pleased? What do you prefer, Satan? I talk about Muslims or Christians on my channel. They're both nuts? Satan, you can't say that both Christians and Muslims are nuts. They're going to get offended. They want to be treated like adults and they want to be viewed as rational and reasonable. They're just kidding themselves. Satan, we're live. They can hear you. Well, no, they can't hear you, but they can hear me repeating back what I'm pretending you're saying.
Policy and it's hypocrisy.
I think we got that admission. So let's move on because I think that's done.
Yeah, I think we batted that one.
Appeal to emotion is bad. I mean, it's clear he's asking the question.
Oh yeah, I asked the question, ladies and gentlemen, is appeal to emotion bad? Let me be totally transparent here. When I ask a question with the word bad in it, it's a trap. And these guys fell right into it.
The fact that you don't know that shows that I could understand, like what I said before actually was somewhat prophetic, that people who dislike philosophy are just bad philosophers.
Yeah, he thinks that I'm ignorant of philosophy and don't know that appeal to emotion in a deductive syllogism is a fallacious argument, and doesn't realize I'm using it in the sense of I don't know, existential, just living. I'm appealing to your sense of emotion.
Because you don't even realize that appeal to emotion is an actual fallacy.
And by the way, Muslims, when you show pictures of dead fetuses, just a picture, that is a powerful argument against abortion. Yes? But that's all an appeal to emotion. That is the most powerful. I'll be on record saying that is one of the most powerful appeals to emotion on the planet. Seeing either a dying or dead child. And yet we do it all the time to prevent wars, and Christians and theists in general do it all the time to try to prevent abortion. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying it's powerful and it works. Just like this thought experiment, Poof or Drown, it's powerful and it works. Maybe not to you guys, but to the young Muslim who's lurking right now listening to me and saying, do I really believe in a God that would do this? Do I?
This is what would, like, imagine a Christian comes up to you now, PineCreek, and he's like, but the love of Jesus Christ is going to save you. And you know, there's all these nice feelings that you would get if you just embraced it and just, you know, neglected all of the negative things, and you just embrace. It's just such a good feeling. I promise you, it's amazing. It's a beautiful emotion. You're going to
He's trying to convert me to Christianity here. This sounds so good.
reject that. Why? Because it's an appeal to an emotion. Why is that problematic?
Is the inner testimony of the Holy Spirit in Christianity appeal to emotion?
He's claiming he's asking an existential question. It's not one of deduction.
Now he's claiming, now he's just changed his mind that appeal to emotion is not a fallacy. It's just
it's not a deductive argument.
That's what I meant all along. And I'll be honest, you guys weren't smart enough to see it. You jumped on that. It's a fallacious argument. I read it in my philosophy book. It was on page 44, and I forget the author's name, but it says that appeal to emotion is a fallacy in philosophy. And if PineCreek was smart enough, he would have realized that, but he doesn't know philosophy.
All right.
I know philosophy better than you flag-waving phonies, except for maybe Asadallah.
Okay, so I can appeal to emotion for an existential question about whether or not God exists then, right?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait, you don't want me to do that.
No, you can do that. The question is now, do we have defeaters for that emotion?
I mean,
And we do.
unbelievable, bro.
It's funny as well because he goes on in this video a lot about double standards.
Yeah, this is
In fact, one of the most powerful arguments I think there are for God, for me personally, is the beauty argument. Like, for me, when I say beauty, I'm talking about, for some reason, when I see, and I mentioned this before, when I see young children with extreme talent, and I'm thinking, it's almost angelic-like, it's almost godlike, their ability to play the piano or play the violin, or even for other people, it's the sunset. Hear me out. I think Muslims, you're on my side here. These types of things, like a beautiful sunset, is way more powerful as an argument for God than we have direct attestation for the things Muhammad said. Now, some Muslims might disagree with me, but there's going to be other Muslims who I am resonating with. They feel it in their bones. Say, yes, Doug, I get you, because that experience I had, I tell you, it was so beautiful. There has to be a God. This, in my opinion, at least a lot of the time, is why theists are theists. And I will say why atheists are atheists. They just view the opposite. When they see a child suffer and die in war, and Allah allowed it. Allah is sovereign and powerful. He could have stopped it, but he allowed it. Allah allowed that child to be blown to bits. Allah allowed it. He watched it. He saw it and he allowed it. He could have stopped it, but he allowed it. It's basically an appeal to emotion, but in the reverse direction.
Complete
come
double
on.
standards,
It's
dude.
like, it's really funny too. Yeah, we know we got our morality evolved.
Actually, it could be an intellectual argument as well. If you're saying that Allah would never do such and such, we see such and such, therefore Allah doesn't exist.
It evolved. Well, what about our belief in God? Well, no, we don't count that. we don't count that as a valid question to ask or to something to follow as a result of our evolutionary development. But our morality, that's fine.
Basically got to a point where it's like, I'm trying my hardest to do a PineCreek.
Thank you, Tony D.
It's
Here's a few dinars for some aspirin you need for the headache this nonsense must give you. No, this invigorates me. This is fun. This gives me hope, meaning, and purpose. But the best is yet to come, actually. We've got 10 minutes left.
started feeling inauthentic. It's like every time I tried to do this, the closer and closer I got to believing that this is true, to believing that the Quran is the word of God, to believing that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet, to believing that his companions truly believed in him and followed him, to the point where the first decade, there was literally hardly any reason to motivate them to hold on to that belief. They were being tortured. They were being persecuted.
You Christians, this section, the last 10 minutes is for you. Listen to what Yusuf is saying. He's talking about the persecution of the early Muslims. How? Why would they endure this type of suffering and persecution if Islam isn't true? Some of them went to their deaths for Islam. If they didn't think this, if they knew that this was all just BS, they wouldn't have done that. Are you listening, Christians? This is you. You're hearing yourself here in this Muslim gentleman. But for 1 second, you don't buy it, do you? I mean, as a good reason to think Islam is true.
There was zero reason for them to hold on. And there was zero reason to motivate Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to keep pushing it. He was being offered power. He was being offered money. He was being offered...
This is not a conspiracy. There's no reason for Muhammad to lie.
Women. He was being offered all of these things. And he was watching people he loved dearly being tortured. And he still rejected to stop preaching about Islam, to stop calling people.
He never recanted. Muhammad never recanted with all this pressure.
Away from shirk, from polytheism, and to call them to the worship of one God.
It's a little troublesome to me because I want to be very clear to Muslims listening right now. The chances of me converting to Islam is as close as an asymptote to zero as you can imagine. True story. I don't know how much impact this had on them, if this is why they're upset with me, because Doug, you seem like just a sincere, questioning seeker on the arena in Hamza's den. And now you're telling us that the probability of you becoming a Muslim is like close to zero? However, I could convert to Islam if I take a napkin, soak it in water, and you pray in the name of Allah to light it up.
So,
but until that...
So this is like a thing he mentions quite a lot. It's like the linchpin of his becoming a believer, not just in Islam, but in theism in general, is that God, he treats God like a vending machine. Like he can just make a command of God.
I've heard this exact, I even think, well, maybe it's an ATM machine, but Christians...
God, and that God must do as he's commanded and show him, and then he'll believe in him. Like, and his go-to thing is the tissue in the water, and then God's got to set the wet tissue on fire.
And that's his appeal to Christian theology, because in our theology, God doesn't care if you personally come to him or not.
Hey, is this true, Muslims listening? Is it true Allah doesn't care if I become a Muslim or not? I don't want to misrepresent or straw man here.
If theology, because in our theology, God doesn't care if you.
Allah doesn't care if I believe in him or not, if I follow him or not. Well, maybe he didn't say follow. Hang on. Maybe there's hope for me.
Personally, in our theology, God doesn't care if you personally come to him or not.
Come to him. What does come to him mean? Oh, that sounds bad. I want Allah to care about me. But he doesn't care if I come to him or not. Maybe it's just that Christian baggage I have. I got to man up here. Just got to accept that Allah doesn't care about me coming to him or not. Is this true? Muslims, is this true? Is this guy right?
Well, it mentions this because this is the same thing that the Quraysh constantly brought to Muhammad. It's like, well, what would the world look like? And then he starts to say, would it look like? And basically he describes this world. So he's making this claim that if there wasn't a God, that the universe would look exactly like this. The fact that there's lots of empty space, the fact that there's, I can't find the bleeding start, the timestamp. What would you?
This is my thought experiment about what would a world without God look like.
Experiment. Imagine what.
Screenplay.
To be honest, I think he's got.
I disagree because if that's really the case, I disagree because no, this is a world that does look like that God exists. Because for one,
but this is a world that does look like God exists. But the question is, what would a world look like where a God doesn't exist? Thank you, Lavington, for the donation. Are those tears from Tears Sparkling Ice tears? No. These are manly man tears.
One, there are people who actually believe that there is a transcendent deity that does exist. And for me personally,
as a philosopher, it's amazing to me that he just can't entertain some thought experiments. Like philosophers, this is one of the reasons I love philosophers is they're okay with thought experiments. But in this case, it's like we're 0 for 2, the poof and drown and the what would a world look like without a God.
From my understanding of naturalism, it is impossible. Not simply that I can't conceive of it because I'm ignorant, like him and Nathan claim, that I can't fathom it, right? But because it's impossible for the natural world to produce that sort of conception, that sort of to push humans in that direction, right? There's nothing in the natural world that could possibly, as far as I'm concerned, could possibly make humans come to these conclusions about.
Okay, I got a couple things to say here. I say it's possible, and maybe I'm wrong, depending on the definition of God. Well, yeah, it does depend on the definition of God, but I say it is possible that theism is true. But what I'm hearing, he always has his name visible, Asadallah. What I'm hearing him say is, no, atheism is impossible. Okay, mature Muslims are going to hate this, but I'm appealing to the on-the-fence Muslims who are lurking in my live stream chat right now. Who sounds more reasonable? The atheist who is open to the idea of God, or the theist who says, no, God's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. And if you say that it's impossible to have a universe without a God, bye-bye design argument, bye-bye fine-tuning argument, because you don't even have to go there. You don't say, look at how everything's designed, there must be a God. Look how everything's fine-tuned, there must be a God. No, all you have to do is say, see, there's a tree. Done. I don't know if you guys realize this, but by saying it's impossible to have a universe without a God, you're saying goodbye to a lot of your philosophical arguments for God. You just say, we have existence, therefore God. You're done. Am I wrong? Flag waving phony Muslims.
Things beyond itself.
A little listen to it for a few minutes.
I just want to add to that. I think that the question is off base from the get-go.
Thank you to the 500. We set a record today. Thank you.
Because I don't think a world...
There's more people watching right now than Jesus appeared to in the 1 Corinthians 15 creed. I'm better than Jesus. Paul Schlechter, thank you for the donation. Does the PineCreek theorem apply to paradise virgins? No, not to virgins, not to paradise virgins. No, I don't think so.
Like this or anything really is possible without God.
Yeah.
Because for me and for Muslims, God is the necessary being.
Yeah.
God, I would say there would be no existence.
There'd be no world.
There'd be no existence, so therefore you don't need the design argument. You don't need the fine-tuning argument. Just say, there's a tree outside, therefore God.
The next thing we could just leave it here if you wanted to, but there's another point. Say, I'll read them to you and you tell me which one. So it says, what if your wife said she'd received revelation? Would you believe her?
This is good.
No.
Okay, so here's the third thought experiment. I said, if your wife says she got a direct revelation from Allah, would you believe her? Asadallah says no, quickly.
This is one of the points. He's like,
I don't believe my wife. She says she finished dinner.
and then it's,
My apologies to Asadallah's wife. I'd believe you if you said you finished dinner.
and so then his point here is that, well, if you wouldn't believe your wife, someone you know and you love and you care for, then why would you believe the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So a man 1400
Thank you, Yusuf, for steel manning the question.
years ago, who you've never even met. Now, the thing is it's not just about, like, would you believe her or not? You'd ask questions. It's like, all right, well, there's a number of possibilities. If the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam just came up to me and just said that, I wouldn't just be like, yeah, like straight away. I'd say,
This is sort of like the flying man, but he's doing it himself.
well, so let's try to figure this out. Is this the result of a madness? Is he lying to me? Is he doing this? Is he that? Or are you going to go through the process of asking these
Christians, listen, do you recognize this?
questions? And this is exactly what we do when we're making a journey towards accepting Islam. Madness, is he lying to me? Is he doing this? Is he that? Or are you going to go through the process of asking these questions? And this is exactly what we do when we're making a journey towards accepting Islam. We ask these questions. Was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was he a liar? Was he mad? Was it? And these are the...
Was Muhammad a liar, a lunatic, or the final prophet? Muslims are using C.S. Lewis's trilemma argument for God. Christians, are you listening to this? This is the second thing they've stolen from you. No, that's being... Doug, you're being rude. You're causing division. You're causing people's tempers to get up. Calm it down. That's my inner Satan talking. Maybe the Muslims came up with it first and the Christians stole it. But it's obvious Muhammad didn't lie. And it's obvious Muhammad's not nutso, not a lunatic. So therefore, he did get the final revelation from an angel named Gabriel in a cave over 23 years. That reasoning doesn't really resonate with Christians listening, right? Because Christians listening right now say, but we got many evidence that Muhammad maybe did lie, and maybe he was nuts. And I mean, like, just look at the Quran and the inconsistencies, and the Bible says that it's the word of God, and that the Quran is false because it's a additional revelation, and the Quran upholds the Bible as part of God's word, and so therefore everything this Muslim's saying just doesn't make sense. This is the outsider test for faith without me even doing anything. Yusuf is doing it himself. The trilemma argument doesn't work for Muhammad. Why do you think it works for Jesus? Jesus is either a liar, lunatic, or Lord. Muhammad was either a liar, lunatic, or last prophet. And he suffered. He never recanted. He had everything to lose. Christians listening, look at these gentlemen. You're looking at yourself. Look at the beliefs behind their eyes, and you'll find your own. The reasons for the belief. This is why atheists, if we do think the worst of you, this is why. Because you guys can't see this. We can see it, but you guys can't. You can't see that you have the similar, if not same reasons for your belief, yet say it works in my religion but doesn't work in that one. And then you come up with a list of reasons why on both sides. And we atheists just look at you guys and go, can't they see what's going on here? Don't they realize that don't they realize that they're given the same reasons? They don't. How can they not see this? Yeah, I know, and they're just going back and forth. And your text contradicts each other, and the other one says their text contradicts each other. Well, can't they step outside of their beliefs and see it? I don't know what's going on. Like, are they nuts? No, you can't call them nuts. They get offended if you call them nuts. Maybe they're just born and raised in. I don't know if that's the reason. Maybe I don't know. Like, maybe they need the belief to have this explanation. Yeah, I've heard that too. Like, this is, if you want transparency, this is what we think of you.
Like Hamza's as well, to bring you back up, because obviously he was the center point of their attention for a lot of the video. These are the things that he deals with the most at Speaker Squad. Was it? And these are the, like, Hamza's as well, to bring you back up, because obviously he was the center point of their attention for a lot of the video. These are the things that he deals with the most at Speaker's Corner. That's his gateway into Islam. He says, let's look at the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's either one of these.
Trying to boost the Prophet up, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to a point where we have to convince ourselves to believe in him, right? There are events in his life that some people would consider embarrassing, right? That were mentioned.
Are you listening, Christians? There's some events in Muhammad's life that's embarrassing. The argument from embarrassment works in Islam. What do we got? We got three at least right now. We got martyrdom in Islam. We got the argument from embarrassment in Islam. We got the trilemma, liar, lunatic, or prophet in Islam. It's like we're watching a rerun here. Okay, this is going to offend Muslims, but Muslims, you're late to the game. You're not special. You're a knockoff off of Christianity, at least the reasons. And Christians, you're not special either. You're a knockoff of Judaism. And Jews, you're not special. You're a knockoff of Sumerians or other ancient Near East cultures. You're all knockoffs. Oh, I gotta stop it there. There's probably other things that are just amazing.
I'm not that type of person. I had integrity. I am sincere and sincere with the way I approach people.
Okay, you're sincere. You got integrity.
Deep kind of people. If you,
yeah, I'll leave it there. That was fun. None of us are special. No, my mom told me I'm special. What have atheists contributed to the world? This live stream? Right? Is there a Muslim William Lane Craig? I'm sure there is. Thank you, Zachary. Muslim caller time? No, I'm not going to allow any Muslims on here because I got to pee like a horse. Sorry for causing all the drama, says Nathan, Digital Gnosis. Yeah, it's your fault. I blame you. I never blame myself. No, you're a good lad. Nathan, you're a good lad. You mean well. We both do. We're just trying to get through this world together. Me and you, Nathan. You know what? I am open to Muslims coming on, but not right now. I need a break. And I gotta pee, and I gotta do some other stuff. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe on the weekend. If you're a Muslim, If you're a young Muslim lurking and you want to raise your hand, say, I doubt Islam, email me. We can talk tomorrow. PineCreek, you did the worst thing you could. What's the worst thing I could? Nathan wants to marry you. I'm a married man. My apologies to, what's their names? Yusuf, Asadullah, and Jake the Muslim. My sincere apologies. You were scheduled to come on and defend yourselves, but we ran out of time.